Welcome back to Black and Classic Podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Monet, where we talk all things politics and pop culture. So, up for today, we're going to be talking about Praz and why he was just sentenced to, I believe, over a decade in federal prison. We're going to get into some local news, what's happening in Connecticut. Also, we're going to follow up on that woman. A while back, we spoke about this in Ohio who broke in and cut that man's testicles. Yeah, we're gonna get into that follow-up, that and a bunch of other stuff. Stay tuned.
That blackness, that black power, that black pushing them to identify with black culture. I think that's what you're asking. It's. I have no.
So, I want to jump into our recap first and foremost. Let me just put a disclaimer out there, okay? I wanna say to the people who are just looking to be a contrarian, save your comments, okay? Because I'm someone who I just don't really have the patience for people who want to be willfully obtuse. I don't have the patience. So a lot of times I'm not going to delete your comment. I actually will tell you you are right and agree with you because you're not stating anything that's not obvious. So let's just save ourselves the time, okay? Over here, we're a family. We offer our opinions respectfully and we share different perspectives. But to just be a contrarian just to do it is so unnecessary. With that being said, I received a comment from the tech janitor on last week's episode that says, I think for the most part, we had a plan as to how to feed our families, but with the social distancing from the programs in question, we were in a hard position. And I definitely agree with that. I think a lot of people had found their own flow and budget, but with that unexpected hard time, it just kind of threw a wrench in everyone's normal routine, especially financially. However, I think what everyone presumed was normal and like a good routine quickly showed that it actually was not, and we all were really struggling. That was just something that really put or highlighted, if you will, right? Highlighted what our situation was and kind of how bad of a situation we were in. So I definitely agree. I just think that, COVID and everything after COVID with inflation and just trying to get back on track, it was like, I don't think we ever were really in a good place. We were just surviving and not really thriving, as that cliche saying goes. Okay. Now, with that being said, let's get into our local news. So, guys, the first thing that I wanted to just touch on because I've been, kind of hinting towards the governor race in Connecticut. And when I say hinting, meaning that there is someone I want to run, they just haven't announced yet. Who did announce was the former New Britain Mayor, Erin Stewart. She has announced that she will be running for governor in 2026. She does have a Republican challenger, Ryan Fazo. And then, of course, she will be going up against the current governor, Democratic Governor Ned Lamont. And I'm kind of interested to learn a lot more about Erin because I've I don't want to say I've seen her. I've never lived in New Britain, Connecticut, but I've seen her in headlines, right, if you will. And when things are happening in New Britain, she's very like on the front line, going out, shaking hands, and doing all of those things. Now, that doesn't mean you're a good mayor. Okay. So for me, I think it would be very important to look into what she's actually done for the city of New Britain before I go wanting to like throw my vote behind her. Again, this is not the person I want to throw their hat in the race, but it is interesting to see what she'll be able to offer the state of Connecticut and what she's done in the city of New Britain, because to know where someone is headed is to know where they've come from, right? So I definitely want to know more about her. I just thought that was interesting to see the people who are coming out and saying that they are going to be running for Connecticut mayor. Next up. This topic got very interesting very fast for me. Um, I'm a woman in my 30s, okay? And so I'm doing all of the adulting things. I'm paying bills like the rest of America, just like the rest of the family who watches this, right? I'm paying bills, okay? Now, Eversource is a electrical company, I think one of the biggest, if I'm not mistaken, in Connecticut. And they have come out and said that the winter electricity supply rate is expected to increase more than it did last year. Now, if I was 15, 16, 17, this wouldn't mean a thing to me, okay? But as a woman in my 30 doing a real adulting, this means everything because what do you mean? Like what is the rate going to be? So, of course, I had to click on the article. So, it says that the increased demand in the winter, along with the limited supply of natural gas, is going to cause these rates to go up. Now, what we will pay now beginning January 1st, if you live in Connecticut and Eversource is your what is it, like electrical company, it's going to go to 12.64 cents per kilowatt. And then last year it was 11.19 per kilowatt. And so they're expecting to see this change due to a variety of things. And what I did learn, because I was just so annoyed, I feel like a lot of people were the same way, right? Where we're like, oh, our state is awful. Like, this is crazy. So I was like, maybe this isn't just happening in Connecticut. And what do you know? It's not happening in just Connecticut. I did read that that those in Florida, now this was according to NPR, those in Florida are also seeing their electric bills go up to about 500 a month, which let me tell you something. I could not imagine getting a $500 electrical bill. And I think it's just different and y'all can tell me if I'm wrong, right? Because I haven't lived in a home with central air at this point in my life. So I'm still, ACs in the windows type gal. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out, is it because they have electrical air? Is it because they need it year round? Where you have longer, hotter summers, so you have to have the AC on, then you have to have the heat. Like, is it that or like what is it for it to be $500 a month? That is crazy. And then they spoke to some senior citizens who are saying they are already stuck living paycheck to paycheck. And now they're needing to decide between paying like an electrical bill or paying for their medications, which is quite literally so awful. So as I'm reading this article, I'm like, okay, well, what's causing this huge swing in um changes to their rates, right? Especially in Connecticut. Again, it was increased in demand, which means more people are needing electricity. And then they are saying that it's like these energy hungry data centers, especially those used for AI. That's very interesting because you don't think about the way we use AI, you don't think that it's going to be something where it needs all this electricity, like you would just think like, oh, I'm just using my phone and my phone has AI. We don't think about where that energy for this technology and things like that is coming from. So, anyways, long story less long, that's that, which I found to be very interesting. Also, of course, electric vehicles, and you have, those grids and things like that. So that's somewhere where it's harvesting the energy. And then infrastructure upgrades. So a lot of these infrastructures are centuries, years old. They haven't been rebuilt or updated and all of that. So because it's so old, you're going to now have to pay a little bit more in order for them to now, of course, like I always spoke about with budget, fix what they need to fix. And as I was reading this article, it says that's why a lot of times you'll have outages and power will be going down or your power is like going in and out and stuff like that is because your electrical grid is probably shot and that's something that needs to be updated and repaired. So it's a bunch of things that's happening and I just felt that was very, very interesting because as we spoke about last week with, saying, okay, we're going to pass out these tariff rebate checks. Cool, you can pass out the tariff rebate checks, but what is that doing for like the practical stuff like this, right? Where now we have these electrical things, these electrical companies rather, seeing increase in rates, and you have senior citizens having to choose between their medication and their bills, and all of those things. And then, not to mention, when we spoke about the Affordable Health Care Act, where now you're increasing their premium. So everything is just costing so much. And that little 2000 isn't really going to stimulate the economy like Trump thinks it will, especially when you have real things like this happening. So as we go into the winter season, that's definitely something I'm going to pay attention to, and just see, how nationwide, what's the reaction to this. Because I know as we get into older people getting sick, not being able to afford the health insurance, all of that is going to matter, especially when you think about the senior citizens. I shouldn't say senior citizens, but the retired folks, right? The retired folks who they are living on a pension from goddamn 2003, right? And now we're in 2025, but their pension has not increased. It has not changed. The same rate that they were getting in 2003 is what they're trying to live off in 2025. Like, that disparity is something that's going to be impactful. And then you have increases in electricity, and now they can't afford their health insurance. It's like, it's a combination of things. And that's why when I say these tariff rebate checks, especially if you're thinking about the generation coming up, like the millennials, as we age, we don't need like free money. We need them to give us real solutions, real, like, take care of some debt, or deal with these infrastructures, or deal with the electrical vehicles, because you're telling people to go electrical, but look what it's causing on the back end. All these different things, like, it's just, is one thing after another, and we have to pay attention to it because it paints a broader picture. And that's what I'll say on that, because I feel like I could go on for days talking about the economy and where we are with inflation and things like that. And people don't take into account what it really looks like on a broader picture. They just know, like, it's an immediate fix. But to me, that immediate fix isn't going to do much for me in the long run. Next up, what I want to talk about is that I read this article, this headline. And then when I read the article, I'm like, wow, this is very misleading. And this is why it's important to read articles and not just read headlines. So this headline says $1 million starter homes among challenges for first time buyers. Now, when I read it, I said, the average home cannot cost $1 million. It just cannot. There's no, especially in Connecticut, there's just no way. Like, I'm thinking about all the towns in Connecticut, and Connecticut is so small, but yet so big. So I'm like, I don't believe that. So I get into the article. The first thing that jumps out to me is they say the age of the average first time home buyer in the United States has now hit 40 years old. Mind you, woman in her 30s, never purchased a home. All I'm saying is I see what they talking about. You know what I mean? I see what they talking about. 40 years old. Now, last year it was 38. It's bumped up 2 years. Okay. Now it's 40. And that's a record high according to the National Association of Realtors. So that's very interesting. Now let's jump into this $1 million part, because I was like, well, where are these homes at? Because what? Now here's where they polls. Now, if you're familiar with Connecticut or any of these things, you'll be like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." They took these polls from places like Greenwich, Westport, New Canaan, Madison, basically the richest towns or cities in Connecticut. Like, duh, those are going to be the price. And then in this article, a woman is like, you know, don't settle, like, get exactly what you want if you're paying out and dishing out this kind of money. Like I told y'all before, I don't feel like anyone's listening to me. Folks is not worried about a house if the electricity rate is already going up. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can barely afford to pay the electrical bill in an apartment, and now you want me to get a house? Huh? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it just don't make too much sense, you know? So that's what we need to look at and stop focusing on, oh, no one's buying homes. How do we make it easy to buy homes? How do we make it affordable to live in general? Whether I got a home, an apartment, let's make it affordable to live in general. And then we might be able to solve some problems and to stimulate the economy. You know what I mean? Because this is just going to get higher and higher and higher. People are living with their parents until they're like 38 and 40 years old, you know? And then you'll get lucky to move out, and God forbid your parent might pass away, both parents, and now they leave the house to you. You just inherited a house, you know? Like that's kind of where I feel like a lot of this is going, because a lot of people are not looking to buy homes because it just does not make sense financially. It doesn't. And I get it. I get it. Okay, you know, we want to invest and it's good for us and yada yada yada. But ooh, listen, this hair, okay? That one little curl is driving me crazy. Oh, if y'all keep seeing me do this, it's because this curl just wants to, you know. Anyways, family, listen. People can't afford it, okay? That's why Trump was trying to offer 50-year mortgages because the folks is not trying to buy it, okay? I guess, you know, if you're 22 and you want to sign up for a 50-year mortgage, do your thing. You will be paying that thing off until you're what, 70 or so. And even then, you know what I mean? You got to hope you stay alive for the next 50 years. Nothing happened to you. Don't live risky. Make sure you make your payments. Don't refinance. Don't, nothing can happen. You just have to be able to make your payments maybe a little bit more, you know, on top of the like interest and stuff like that. Like, make sure you do it right because folks is not worried. I know I'm not. I'm not gonna lie to you. I know I'm not. If I'm not doing it with two incomes, I don't want it. I don't want it. And I know they're saying, well, you're just putting money into a landlord or a property person. I'm gonna have to, you know, because if I do it the other way, you know, whatever. I'm not gonna get all into it. All I know is what jumped out to me was that the average age was 40 years old, and I do believe that's going to keep going up unless you fix the economy and the inflation and how high and expensive everything is. That age is going to keep going up, especially, like I said last time, a lot of us millennials, we have debt. We have a lot of it. Okay. So we're not running to go and sit down at a bank for a bank to tell us we don't make enough to afford this and yada, yada, yada. You know, I'm just going to be honest with you. That's that. Now, what I was so excited to get to, because I told you guys I would keep on top of this story. Now there weren't that many updates, but it is interesting. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the Ohio woman who broke into a man's house and sliced and diced his jewels. Yes, that's what she did. Uh-huh. That's what she did. Now, here is the get you gotcha. Here is the gag, y'all. The case was dropped. Yes, the case was dropped. Now, the case was dropped because the victim, hmm, the man who got his jewels sliced and diced to the white meat, if you know that reference, we locked in. They were sliced and diced to the white meat. He didn't show up to court 2 times. Case dismissed. Case dropped. What? Listen, what? Mm-mm. If I don't know nothing, I know that woman, she got something with her, okay? I couldn't tell you what it is, but oh, I can imagine. She got something with her. So, the court docket alleged that the victim failed to appear twice for court. And um yeah, so then the case was dropped. Like there was no meat and potatoes to the article. It was like it spelled out what happened and then it said he failed to appear, so the case was dropped. Absolutely crazy. And then also, I did put the picture up. So the picture that was shown of her mugshot, they said that was from a previous arrest. So she got arrested another time. I didn't look into it. She got arrested another time and was smiling in the mugshot. Let me tell you something. Either they on some Ike and Tina and it just got a little too crazy, or they on some Ike and Tina. You know what I mean? And not for nothing, she's giving Ike and he is giving Tina. Cause what do you mean this lady sliced and diced your jewels? Huh? She did what? And you didn't want to appear in court? Mm-mm. What's her name? Janetta is she a wild one. I tell you that. She a wild one. Cause couldn't nobody kick my dough down, come in and start slicing and dicing me up to the white meat, and you think I'm not finna show. Hmm, please. I'll be right there like this. Don't even gotta ask me a question. What? Practice. Let them no, absolutely not. I don't know what y'all to do, but that's what I do. Cause one thing about it, I'm not for the DV. You know what I'm saying? I'm not for the domestic violence. I'm laughing, but I'm not for it. Okay. So if you are one to put your hands on people, whatever happens is what you deserve. Because I just don't believe you should be putting your hands on people. Now, self defense, cool. You know what I'm saying? You come at me, please know it's going to take the National Guard, it's going to take the Army, it's going to take the Navy SEALs. Like, it's going to take everybody and their mama to get me up off of you. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to go out my way to do that to you. So don't think you could do it to me, because I'm not all the way there. You know what I mean? I just present that way. But I'm not all the way there. Okay? With that being said, y'all, let's get into these headlines. First things first. Okay? This has been all over the news. I am over it. I'm over it. I no longer care who was on the island or who was on the plane. Y'all should already know what I'm talking about. The Epstein files. Family, cousins, do we really, honestly and truly, do we still care about this? I just feel like without the names, we already know what we need to know. It happened. It's real. It existed. Like it's there. I think the way Trump has come out and done all this flipping and oh it's a left conspiracy and it's a democratic hoax and he can't believe people are all of that he's doing there, all of the what word am I looking for, all the games and shenanigans he got going on behind this, it tells us everything we need to know. My suggestion has always been just go ahead and let Ghislaine out, let Ghislaine free, and let's just keep it pushing, because having that lady sit down in there, first you tell us there's no files, this one talk about she ain't read the files, now there are files, like it's just pure confusion. Let that lady go free so she could go out and do what she want to do, and let's just move on. I personally don't care who's on the list, because I think they all are corrupt, disgusting, and nasty. What? I think the whole gamut of them are. So, to be honest, there is literally no name that could be on there that would leave me like, there's no name. There is quite literally no name. You could put Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, you could put Beyonce, you could put Jay-Z, child, you could put Miss Rachel, you could put who else you could put, child? You could put Donald Trump, you could put Joe Biden, you could put Kamala, girl. You could put anyone on the list and it wouldn't shock me. it wouldn't shock me because I just feel like that is such a it's a different type of network and world that I believe exists. I believe it's kinda in our face, but behind a curtain, if you know what I mean? So, I don't care. Like, there's no name that's going to shock me. If there's a name on that list that is going to shock you, I believe that you're living a little bit in denial that a lot of this stuff is happening, right? Because to me, I don't I don't fall easily for like the conspiracy and like this is happening and that is happening. Um, I just believe that we like we know what's going on, okay? And whatever they do, they're gonna throw out people to make them be like the scapegoat, and I don't care. I'm sorry. I just don't care. I can't find the words because I don't care. But I'm here to give y'all the news and what's going on. So on Tuesday, the I would call it the Epstein bill passed through the Senate. When it got to the Senate on Wednesday, it passed through, which then sent it to Trump. Wednesday night, of course, Trump took to his Truth Social or whatever to say a bunch of, oh, I can't believe this and yada, yada, yada. But of course, he signed the bill. So now at this point, we're coming up. It's Sunday. Do we have the files yet? I don't believe so. But what I do know is I'm not going to be shocked. I think they're going to throw a bunch of like shocking names out there, but like I don't care. It's not really going to shock me. Hollywood and this whole political world is all just the same thing again. If you're shocked, it's because you don't want to believe in conspiracies and you want to believe that us conspiracy theorists are just so crazy and we just believe, all this hocus pocus stuff, but like you got to see it to believe it, and I believe it. So, it is what it is. Now, our next topic that I want to get into is the Trump administration shares new moves to dismantle more of the Department of Education. Now, this is according to NPR. So, according to NPR, the Trump administration unveiled a sweeping plan on November 18th to sidestep Congress. Now, mind you, the Department of Education is a department that Congress put into effect. So they kind of went around Congress in order to change up some things. And what they're looking to do is outsource large pieces of the Department of Education and kind of shift work around. So what the Department of Education was working on is now going to be belonging to other federal agencies. And so what that looks like is I took some notes on it. So it's the Office of Elementary and Post-Secondary Education is now going to be under the U.S. Department of Labor. How and why? I don't know. The Office of Indian Education is going to be under the Department of the Interior. Child, I don't even know what that means. The International Education and Foreign Language Studies is going to be under the Department of State. And then there's this program called Child Care Access Means Parents in School. So it was a program started where if you were a parent going to college and you couldn't afford childcare, you would have access to this program while you were in college. That is now going to be under the Department of Health and Human Services. Now, this came in from an anonymous tip in the Trump administration, so someone from the inside, a mole, if you will, right? Came out and shared this information saying that the administration had forged 6 new agreements between the Department of Education and other agencies to make this happen. So, what they're looking to do is offload day to day operations of congressionally required programs while retaining a small staff for the Department of Education. Now, why I found that so interesting is because I feel like like I totally understand the idea of wanting to get rid of offices, but what I feel like you can do is instead of like shifting work around, I think you need to understand the work that different offices are, because trust me, I have seen firsthand how people create offices and create positions just arbitrarily because they can. They're like, "Oh, that sounds like a good idea and my friend needs a job, so let's create it." I have seen that. And like I said before, I get that as presidents go into office, they're creating these offices and well, as a president goes into the White House, I should say that to make it clear. As a president goes into the White House to in order to return favors, they create offices under these different, like US Department of Education, Health and Human Services, right? They're creating offices within these departments and it just gets to be a little bit crazy. And then you have all of these federal workers and these people who are employed, not for nothing. A lot of those people don't be doing no work. They don't be doing no work, okay? But listen, you did not hear that from me, okay? You did not hear that from me. So I'm not mad at them trying to go in and clean house, but I think you just need to, instead of having it be 17 different offices, maybe smush it down to 5, and put everyone into from 17 down to 5 and then create different offices, and see what work can be grouped together instead of being like, okay, well, you do that. So just go sit over here. There's office over there. Oh, there's some offices over there. Go sit in there. No. And then if there are people who need to be laid off, then they just need to be laid off. If you were doing the work and you were working for the US government, I feel like anywhere would be happy to take you. Any nonprofit, anything like that. If you have the expertise that you say you do, if you're doing the work and have the experience that you say you do, you can go pretty much anywhere with that on your resume and get a job. So I'm not so mad at that. I do understand going into something and cleaning it up. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, okay? Next up, what I wanted to talk about, because this was just really, really interesting, especially coming off of watching a lot of the documentaries. So, a judge has formally approved the opioid settlement for Produce Pharma and the Sackler family members who own the company. So this came about because, of course, as we all know, the opioid epidemic, right? And all the harms that came out of oxy and how much they were prescribing it to people and just at the rate that they were doing it. I remember having a procedure done and I was 17. I was 17 and I had a procedure done, right? And when I left, they had, prescribed me OxyContin, and I don't know why, like, I have no idea how I knew or why I knew, but when I s and my mom was like, "Oh, do you wanna take them?" And blah, 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 and I'm like, "No, I'm good." And she was like, "You don't have to take the whole thing, you could take a half." I'm good. I didn't take it. And so afterwards, I was like, well, what can we do with these? Right. So I ended up learning about, and I've done this a few times with different procedures. I ended up learning that you can go to a police station and they have the little, like, I don't wanna say mailbox, but, like, where you can drop unused, prescriptions or pills and things like that. So, I would take my prescriptions and I'd bring it there because I'm not going to take Oxy, like, absolutely not. It was that, I think, morphine they also were doing it with, and so what ended up happening is you got all of these people who were either going in for maybe minor or major procedures, but they ended up getting addicted to opioids and they were pushed knowing how addictive it was, right? Because it's a fucking like hardcore drug, you know? So with that, this family in Purdue ended up being sued. So now the the Sackler family is required to contribute up to $7 billion over the next 15 years. And most of that money is going to go to government entities to fight the opioid crisis. And that has been linked to 900,000 deaths in the United States since 1999. And I think if you watch, I can't remember. Um, Let me see if I can get the name for you guys. Is it Dope Sick? Let me see. Yes, Dope Sick. Go watch Dope Sick on Hulu. If you have Hulu, it is amazing. It is so good. And it was something that made me realize just how awful they were. I'm also watching, there's another one I'm watching right now. It's on Netflix. I can't remember the name, but that's neither here nor there. I just felt it was good that, not saying they're, like, sticking it to the man, but something has to be done about big pharma. I read a headline, and I didn't look into it because I was at work, and, if you have a work a work computer, but if you have Windows, Windows usually has, like, the news headlines that kinda just, like, runs across, and, let me see. I saw that Johnson& and Johnson had bought some, like, um, some, like, cancer research something or another, and I'm like, Johnson& and Johnson got some nerve, if you know anything. Johnson& and Johnson got some nerve to go out and talk about they wanna buy, cancer research, like, girl, goodbye, okay? Anyways, I say all that to say, in reading this, I just want big pharma to honestly and truly, I need for big pharma to be in more lawsuits, and I need the people to win these lawsuits. I feel like, it's so painfully obvious that big pharma and the government are in cahoots. So it's tough to say that, you will get wins like this, and this isn't really a win, right? Because almost 1,000,000 deaths, and that's probably not really even counting. I think it's over 900,000. Those are just the ones that they can link to this directly, which is already sad. So to me, this isn't a win. I think the win would be for big pharma and the government to kind of get from being so entangled to where the average person can sue big pharma, and it can be, more than one person, where now you're getting these, like, class action lawsuits and being able to take down these big pharma companies, because like I was just saying about Johnson& Johnson is so clearly linked to so many things with cancer and being bad for your body and everything of that nature, but then they can go around and then purchase a company looking into cancer research, So it's like it's just it's really wild, and it's really disgusting, and I wish, there was a separation from big pharma and the government, because big pharma needs to be taken down. Like, there's just no way they get away with the stuff that they do, and the little guy is screaming and dying behind the things that they do just to fatten their pockets. You understood? So, for me, when I read that, I was like, gosh, if we could keep seeing things like this, it would be very empowering to know that the little guy is being able to go up against big pharma, So, I don't know, I just felt that was important. I would really, really, really love to see big pharma lose in a major, major way. And lastly, what I wanted to talk about was the Fugees rapper Praz was sentenced to 14 years. Now, I wanted to talk about this because the headlines were linking him to the Obama reelection. And whenever I see them start throwing, like, this person was sentenced and they're connected to Obama, I'm like, hold on. Y'all not finna try to tarnish my good man, you know what I'm saying? He may not have been the best, but he's the only black one we got, okay? I don't want to hear none of that. I don't want to hear none of that. So, with that being said, of course, I had to look into it. And when I looked into it, basically, now listen, here's the thing, okay? I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Here is the thing, and here's what I could not understand. Why must why must we get mad when the people of okay, the people of color, the black folks, get to doing what y'all was doing? Why must we then have to go to jail? Y'all get to go out and do this, okay? Do all of the illegal things, okay? And you'll have someone like Trump come in and pardon him and be like, but he's a good man. He's a good man, Savannah. I don't understand. So I can't even say allegedly because he got sentenced to it, but Praz was illegally funneling millions of dollars in foreign contributions to former US President Obama for his 2012 re-election campaign. And so obviously this is a bad thing because in the US, contributions from foreign people is illegal, as well as paying someone else to make campaign contributions. Now, what's really crazy about that is Praz obtained more than $120 million from a Malaysian financier who was a fugitive. His name was Low Tech Joe, or I think his or what he went by was Lojo, I think. And so he got that money, and then the money that he was getting from this fugitive, this Malaysian fugitive, was then steered into these like straw donors to Obama's campaign. So basically he was going out politicking, right? Politicking, getting money, getting money, getting money. Then he was clearly paying someone to take this money and basically like wash this money and then put it into Obama's campaign. You can't tell me, hello, you can't tell me that they weren't doing this for Trump. Hmm? Then you just have the man, was it Bill Ackman, I think? I believe it might have been Bill Ackman who said on camera, like basically, I'll throw X any amount of money. Just write the number down that you need. I'll put it behind whoever to be Mamdani. So you gonna tell me they ain't doing nothing like this? They not going out to BB? Cause that would be mm. See, I told you, when it's us, it's illegal. When it's them, it's anti-Semitic. Hmm. Because mm. BB is also, I'm pretty sure he's on trial or he got charges pending. So that would make him someone not a fugitive, but he's done some illegal things according to his country. Huh? You're telling me none of his money, none of his money has contributed to Donald Trump's presidential campaign? Is that what you're telling me? Hmm? Is that what you're telling me? None of his money? Let's talk about it. None of his money? None? None of it? Hmm? But we just gave Praz 14 years. So, um, hmm? Oh, maybe I'm off in that. Please let me know. Drop a comment. Drop a comment. Let me know. But if he gave money to somebody else, they gave him a thank you. and they then took that money and gave it to Trump as a super PAC, wouldn't that be illegal to take money from foreigners to donate to election campaigns? Hmm. I don't know. I don't, huh? I'm confused. I thought that would be the same thing. Mm, interesting. I'll just leave y'all with that tidbit. I found it interesting, but who am I, right? Who am I with this little black girl in Connecticut who just reads headlines and explores them a little bit deeper? But with that being said, that's all I got for you today. I did want to sit down and talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene, or as Trump referred to her, Marjorie Trader Greene, but I'm going to do that in a separate video because that's also going to lead me down into my opinions about Jasmine Crockett. So I'm just going to do that separately, but please know that is on the way. Cause, oh girl, you got some nerve. Anyways, with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode. Do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend. Maybe your grandma, maybe she needs to learn a little something, you know what I'm saying? Or that one cousin we all got that one. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and share this link to them. Let them join the family. Let them become a cousin so we could be locked in. Exactly. And I haven't said it in a while, but I will remind y'all, please, please drop a comment, be respectful. But if you want to debate, I don't do that. Debate that granny. Exactly. And with that being said, I'll talk to y'all next week. Yeah. And happy holidays. I don't celebrate genocide, but if you do, hey, do how you do. With that being said, bye.